Hey friends, my name is Chrissy and welcome back. It is great to be back with you all. It has been a minute. So for those of you who don't know, I missed a few weeks, 3, from a shoulder injury, and it's still not better, but it's doable. So it's I have a few things going on with it, but we're gonna pray about it. We're gonna trust God for healing, and we're gonna move forward. So sometimes you just kind of have to work through the pain and adapt. Like my trying to get my hair in a ponytail is interesting. Lots of things that you don't even think about that you use your arm for are it's interesting. So anyways, we're gonna jump in today and we're gonna talk about, so for people that struggle with depression and anxiety, a lot of the time it stems from something that's happened in our past, whether that's 20 years ago, 40 years ago, or 5 hours ago. A lot of times it's some sort of trauma that's happened from our past, and that's understandable. When bad things happen, we have to learn how to kind of bob and weave around those. And I think for a lot of people, what we say is we do one of two things. We either get in a severely depressed state and we pray for numb and we just try to maintain, or we don't show sadness, we don't show fear, we don't show anger, we don't show resentment, we don't show anything. We just more stuff it under the rug and try to push forward. And both of those have been examples of how I have handled things in the past. But what we have to decide is, are we going to let our past dictate our futures? And the answer to that should be no. Now, there's things that have happened in my past that have made me the person I am. I'm not talking about different things that have molded us. Even when I was struggling with depression and anxiety for 27 and a half years, I wish I would have rather not dealt with that, but it's made me who I am today. So you have to decide that maybe you didn't have parents. Maybe your parents weren't the best parents. Maybe they weren't even involved. Maybe your great grandparents raised you. Maybe you were in the system. Maybe, right? We could throw out 100 different circumstances for everything that all of us have went through that's different, like all of our childhoods that have been different. But what I decided is that I didn't want to be that person anymore, and I didn't want to be the victim. So I wasn't going to blame my today, my present, and my future on things that happened in the past. Now, there are reasons I react certain ways. We've had this conversation a couple times. I had a pillow that, I don't know how long I'd had the pillow, but it was rough. Like you could feel the clumps of whatever material was inside had broken apart long ago. I would not get rid of this pillow because I didn't feel like I deserved another one. Now, if that would have been Nick in that situation, I would have said, we're getting you a pillow, this is stupid, right? But for me, I didn't believe that for myself. So we were shopping one day and Nick grabbed the pillow and I said, what are you getting a pillow for? And he said, for you, because you won't get it for yourself. And we just had another circumstance like that. That my socks, like on the bottom of like where your foot pad is, I guess you would call it, the bottom of your foot, some of my socks were worn through, and I would not get new ones. I just wouldn't for myself. And he surprised me one day with new socks. He's actually surprised me 2 times with new socks. Something as simple as that. From childhood experiences, I believed I'm not worthy of those things. And it's hard for me even today to view myself worthy. Now, if my kids need something, if my family needs something, if our friends need something, then yes, I'm all about helping them. But when I view me, I don't view me as worthy enough to spend money on. You know, when people get their hair done, or when people get their nails done, or when people do different things that you would do for yourself, I don't view me as worthy of that. Now, there's been times in the past that I kind of broke that mold and I allowed myself to do that. But then I would back off of it thinking, you know, you're wasting all this money on yourself. And that's a past trauma that I've had to deal with. What I've decided though is, even though I still struggle at times with things like that, I'm not going to, and we can't let what happened to us back then dictate the kind of people we are anymore. We were victims per se of whatever happened in our past, of whatever caused the trauma, but I'm not that anymore. I'm a grown adult and I can make choices. So it's understanding that who we are doesn't have to be who we were, doesn't have to be who we are. I do believe people can change. I don't think that it's any more rare than anything else in the world. There are people that can't and don't. There are people that don't change. There are people that try and fail, and there are people that try and succeed. And I've told you many times before, I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or 2 years ago. I'm not that girl anymore. I'm not that person. I've changed, I've evolved, I've become a better human. And it's not because I'm chasing after anything in particular except my relationship with God to be stronger. There's been a lot of changes here recently, and I hope to talk to you about those in the next few videos whenever there's a firm change. But sometimes you have to look at something and say, this is not working out, this is not healthy, and I can do something about this, and I need to make the move. And that's hard for us. I always revert back to Proverbs 23:7, which says, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. That's so true. When we think we're not worthy, when we think we're not good enough, when we think we're worthless, when we think we're never going to amount to anything, we're never going to do anything good, nothing good is ever going to come from us. When we put those talks on repeat, it's hard. Nick and I went for a drive this past weekend. Just got in the car, we drove out, found a little mom and pop place on the side of the road, stopped there, ate, saw a friend of ours, talked to him for a while, a friend of Nick's that I met, talked to him for a while, then continued the drive, and then came home. It was very relaxing, very nice day. Cell service was 0, so, but it was taking that second to get away, just taking that second to kind of decompress. But one thing I thought about is, well, I hope to share this part of it in another video, but what I've realized is that sometimes you have to make a choice, you have to make a decision, and it might not be comfortable, but you have to make a decision that's going to lead to more happiness and more contentment for your life, and it's going to lead to a better relationship with you and God. Right thinking is so vitally necessary, right? On that trip that we were on, I remember I said something joking to Nick, and he immediately tried to change the subject, and I said, I love that we've been together 15 years and you think that you can change the subject, and my mind isn't gonna be on repeat thinking of that. That's how my mind works. It continues to think about things over and over and over and over and over and over again for sometimes days, weeks, months, years. Sometimes there's a break in that, sometimes there isn't. But I even joked about that. So here's the thing, when you have those negative thoughts in your head on repeat, which I've had my entire life up until the past 3 years, and I still have them. occasionally that you're worthless. You're absolutely worthless. Nothing you do works. Nothing you do matters. Everything you do is not good enough. I would take a situation that had literally nothing to do with me and try to figure out why, if I was a better person, that situation wouldn't have happened. When you think that no one really loves you, that you are a drain on your family and your friends, when you're not pretty enough, you're not the right size, your hair color isn't the right color, your skin tone isn't the right skin tone, whatever those thoughts are, for me, for someone like me, those go on repeat. And I will have them in my mind constantly. I've learned, and I'm better. I'm much better. Now that still happens, but I'm much better at it, that no. One instance doesn't dictate who Chrissy is. One instance doesn't dictate who you are. My past, my experience growing up doesn't dictate the woman that I am today and the woman that I'm going to become. You know, I'm going to grow every single day. I'm growing every single day, and nothing that's happened is going to dictate, meaning what I mean by that is it's not going to make me be a certain way. I'm in control of how I treat people, how I react to situations, how I start my day, how I finish my day, how my relationships are with friends, family, with God. I'm in control of those, right? I have a personal relationship with God. We talk on a daily basis, and I've really leaned into him a ton. Not that I don't every day, but since April, just trying to figure out his will for me. And I wanted to make sure that it was his will, not Chrissy's will, not Nick's will, not whoever's will, that it was God's will. And he's showing me some things, and it's exciting for me, because the previous me would have felt that I deserve what's been given, and it would have sunk into a deep depression, and it would have believed all of the narrative, right? It would have believed all of the bad. And the me now, those things still sting, but I pay attention to what I'm thinking about now. And so when something bad goes on, I do still have times where I think, well, you could have done X, Y, and Z. And sometimes I could have. Sometimes I could have handled something different. But instead of automatically, you're worthless, you're nothing, you're pathetic, it would be better if you weren't here, there's nothing good that comes from you. You're taking up space and time from your family that could be better used elsewhere. All the things, all the crap that we tell ourselves, I stop and say, no. Regardless, I'm a child of God. He sees my heart. He knows my intention. And if there's something I can improve on, then I will certainly try to do better at it next time. But because I fail at something, or because I don't meet someone else's expectation, some other broken person's expectations of what Chrissy should be, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. I think all of us can use a little bit of improvement. I think we continue to grow every day to be a better person. I think even if I hadn't struggled with depression and anxiety for those 27 and a half years, I would still see parts of me that I did not like and that I've improved on over time, with or without mental health. I think that's very common. We aren't the people we are, or we aren't the people we were in high school. We aren't the people that we were in middle school, college, early 20s. We just aren't those people anymore. We've grown. Life experiences have happened. A lot of times you mellow a little bit more as you get older, and you start to think, for me, I think this all the time, is this going to bother me in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, or 5 months? Is this going to actually bother me? Am I wasting precious energy to pour into something that is not, I'm not even going to remember it in a short period of time? Then that's not worth my consideration. I'm always trying to be a better human, a better person. My goal is to be as godlike as possible. Do I fail? Absolutely. Friends, I do. There's times that I think, I can't believe you're still this bad at some things. But then there's also times that I think, 110% that was God, because Chrissy would not have handled that way. Chrissy would have fallen apart at that situation. And I love those moments. Those are kind of those special moments between me and God that I know that he took over at that time. That's something that you eventually get to. So when I started this journey, June of 2022, I had to really dig deep, because the way I handled any problem, minor, major, any problem, was completely different than the way I handle it now. There are times still when I don't handle things the way that I know that I should, and I talk with God about that, and he knows my heart, and I try to do better the next time. But I'm night and day from the person that I was. That didn't happen overnight. That took mental preparation. That took focusing on right thinking, not delusional thinking, not lying to myself. I don't go around saying Chrissy is a perfect person. She's happy all the time. She's loving all the time. She sees the best in people all the time. Life is perfect. There's no bad things going on in this world. I don't float around in a cloud, right? Or stick my head in the sand. I'm aware of all my flaws and all the flaws in this world. But what I've made is a decision to be a better person, to work towards something. So I've said this before, if you're in the very depths of depression and anxiety, a lot of times when you hear people talk, you might feel something that they say, but you don't feel a lot. So what I would tell you is fight. Don't give up. We've talked about this before. You really have two options. You can fight to get better, or you can allow it to destroy you, right? So pick your hard. It's going to be hard to stay in the depths of depression and anxiety. It's going to be hard to get out of it. Once you're quote unquote level, where you're thinking clearly, that's when I would suggest that you start really thinking about what you're thinking about, that you start really paying attention the next time that something happens, so that you can catch it before you get in that pit. You can catch it and not go back there. Now, I'm not going to lie and say that over the past little over 3 years that I haven't had bad moments. We've talked about that. I have. But the way that I've handled that is night and day. I might have a bad day or a bad couple days, or maybe even a bad 3 or 4 days. But then I realize this. I'm aware of all the crap that the devil throws in my mind, and how to fight that back off now. And that's what my hope and prayer is for all of you, that you're able to find that, and that you're able to fight back, and that you're able to live your best life. And that doesn't mean every day is rainbows and sunshine. That doesn't mean we're not promised bad days, but we're told we're going to have trials and tribulations. Even with our best mental selves, we're going to have trials and tribulations, but we understand how to handle those, and we can do better at seeing other people and helping, not just focus on survival. I've talked about that for a long time. My focus was just to survive. It really wasn't even looking past anything else. So it was very much just to make it through the next day. And then when all of a sudden I started actually seeing things, it was confusing for me, because my focus had been for me to try to survive, to make it through the next day, and then to realize that, hey, there's all these other things, right? Good and bad. It's vital that we don't let our past dictate our future. It's hard, but we can overcome it. You can overcome it. I can overcome it. It's a learning process. It's not a one and done, or it certainly wasn't for me. Friends, I end every video this way, and I wanted to especially thank you all for your prayers. God loves you. I love you. Your friends, your family love you. And we need you here. We'll see you in the next one, friends. Bye.